Hello, David Dzaritsky for Hero Moments. This is where we share best practices and case studies. And by the way, I am sitting in one of our themed huddle rooms. This is the Night Room. It's kind of a Game of Thrones meets Excalibur. It's very cool. Got a knight in back of me, lots of environments. But we're here to talk about a 20-year-old brand, Remicade. If you're not familiar with Remicade, Remicade is for ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease from Janssen Pharmaceuticals. And Janssen had a challenge for us. Even after this many years, they knew that when somebody gets a Remicade script, they're supposed to then go take that script, get it filled, and go to an infusion center. But strangely enough, only 60% of people go and get that script filled. They said, we have a black hole of experiences. Can you help us to understand what's the gap, and then how do we fill those experiences? Well, one of the things that we stepped back in, we said, absolutely, but it's not about the experiences first. Think about us as authors in a story. And as authors in a good story, we've got to focus on characters. So when you think about the character map, a lot of people at Janssen were focusing on the healthcare professional, doctor, the GI physician. They were also focusing on the patient. Well, that's natural. But nobody was really taking a look at the nurse practitioner or the spouse or the environments to which these experiences needed to be happening, needed to occur. So we stepped back and said, at the end of the day, let's dive into the data. Let's take a look at the data from a brand standpoint, from a market access standpoint. Let's swim in it. Let's really come up with those insights to create the strategies and then ultimately the experience that will take care of this gap that's being created. So the four different stakeholders, influencers, characters, as we like to call them, that we focused on was obviously the patient. We also focused on the non-IOI or non-infusion healthcare professional, which was the nurse, as well as the infusion nurse, and then ultimately, nobody was really targeting them to begin with, the sales rep as a character. Poor sales rep, they always get forgotten as one of the characters, but they're an important one. So what we did was we took those four characters and we plotted them along a journey map. That's the next step in the process. And the journey map, if you take a look at the top of this one, is all about the entire journey, the story, the plot points, the impact moments of when somebody gets a Remicade script all the way through to maintenance. Now, once we plot this along, you can see that there's a lot of data here. So we start to swim in it. We start to look at commonality. What are these things that these characters, these influencers have in common along the journey that we as a brand, Remicade, can affect? How do we support their hero journey as sidekicks in this story? Well, we take a look at those overlaps. So for example, the first one here is redefining convenience as not a do-it-yourself, which has been that way, but as a VIP experience, a concierge moment, if you will. Another one was, whatever the experience is going to be, let's be proactive versus reactive. In other words, people just wanted to know what to expect next. And finally, this will come as no surprise to any of you, we had to take care of the financial burden, the insurance approval process. And look at that, right down the middle, every character was affected by this. So imagine sitting in a room of marketers, and we said, at the end of the day, today this is your career. And now we've got to evolve this experience by upping experiential marketing. That's going to be the success of tomorrow. So if you know nothing about us, you do know that we're all about simplicity. Simplicity makes the world move forward. So our strategic map is all about simplicity. It sets up the strategic objective. It sets up the strategic strategy, which is really to reframe a lot of these different conversations. And then the communication objectives, which at the end of the day, if you have one more dollar to spend and one more minute of the day, these are the communication objectives that we've got to focus on. The issues are the holes in the floor. What's going to stop your brand and the patient and the healthcare professional from doing all of these things and creating this perfect experience? Strategic imperatives next on the map, those aren't tactics yet. It is imperatives that tell us where do we need to align the tactics to be the most successful. And guess what? This is not coming from ideation. That's what makes this so different and unique. It came from the data that either Janssen supplied or we supplied. The data then created the insights created the strategy, and guess what comes next? It's what you've been craving. It's the experience. And the experience, although simplistic in form here, was to create a bit of a subway map or a tracking system for the patient. So think about the patient, and I know I'm objectifying them, as an Amazon package. In the same way you would track an Amazon package to see how close it is from your house, when it might arrive, what information do you need, we did the same thing with the patient. So when the patient gets a Remicade script, they also get a Remicade virtual script that actually allows them to go into a system that will tell them only the information that they need pertinent to where they are in their journey. Why would you serve up a video if you're all the way down the lane as opposed to right in the beginning? And that's exactly what this does. It tracks them along the journey and serves up the significant information they need to make the right decisions. But that's not all. That might be enough. That wasn't it. It also allowed them to raise their hand and say, I want other people along the journey with me. I want the nurse and the doctor to be alerted about where I am and to help motivate me. I want my daughter, my son, my family. I want my spouse. I want different family support and friends to support me. So if I'm going for the infusion, they can call up and going, Mom, are you going to the infusion? Mom, I'll take the day off. I'll get you there, and have those emotional connections. It really came in the course of taking something existing like Remy Cares, creating a portal around it to push them through successfully into this experience. How do we do this? Well, it all begins with the same conversation that we can have with you, which is, what are your strategic opportunities? What are your challenges? How do we align them to create your own strategic brand map, your own journey, to really focus on what that experience needs to be? And again, it's so simple. It starts with one conversation, which probably should happen today.